Hello, in this video we're going to learn about a few different types of function graphs. One function graph that you've already been graphing is a linear graph, and the parent function or the main function is y equals x. And to graph that, you could use slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. In the case of y equals x, the intercept is 0. And the slope is 1, so 1 over 1. And it looks something like this. Now, as you know, because you've graphed a bunch of them, lines don't have to go through 0, 0. It could be in a whole different equation, like y equals 2x plus 3, right? And that would start here and then go up like so. Oops, something like that, right? So the y equals x is the parent function, and then changing the slope and the y-intercept changes the way it looks. So let's go to quadratic. Now a quadratic parent function is y equals x squared. You can't graph this using slope-intercept form because, as you'll see in a moment, there is no slope because it changes during the graph. So one thing you can do is make an xy chart and just plug in some values for x, kind of like we started when we were graphing linear functions. So if x is 0, y is 0. So here's my 0, 0. If x is 1, y is 1, because 1 squared is 1. If x is 2, 2 squared would be 4. And you can see it gets tall pretty quick. So when y is 3, 3 times 3 is 9. Should be way up there. Now, if it's negative, if x is negative, what happens is when you square it, it actually becomes positive, right? Because negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And so what you get is something that looks kind of like a U. So it's not a straight line, as you can see. It curves, and so it looks kind of like this. Now this is just the parent function, similar to a linear function where changing some of the numbers will move it around. You could have a U shape. You could also have an N shape if the number in front of x were a negative number. The vertex, which is that part where the turnaround is, right? The lowest part or the highest part, that could be over here. It could be anywhere. So this blue thing could move around. Okay. There, that's a quadratic. So anytime, you'll know it's a quadratic because the x term will be squared. So it'll say something x squared. It could look like, y equals 5x squared plus 2x plus 5. This would also look like a u. But the important part is that there is a squared term in it. And that'll tell you that it's a u or an n shape. All right, what about an absolute value? So the absolute value, the parent function, looks like a v. And I'll show you because we'll make a little xy chart again. Similar to the quadratic, kind of starts at 0, 0. Actually, so does the linear. And when x is 1, y is 1. And when x is 2, y is 2, and so on. Oops, that's 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And so it kind of goes out here, and it looks very linear. But what happens when x is negative 1? Well, this absolute value symbol makes it positive. And so negative 1, comma positive 1. Negative 2 would go with positive 2. And so instead of a straight line, what you end up with is something that looks like a V, which would be different from the quadratic, which is more like a U. This is a V. And again, that's just the parent function. it could, oops, oh, you know, it could end up anywhere on the graph. It could be there, it could be there, it could be down there, depending on some of the other numbers that might show up here. So if you were graphing something like y equals absolute value of x plus 1, all these y values would be 1 higher, right? So that would end up looking kind of like this, right? Something like that. And there's other ways to shift it left and right depending on some of the other numbers in here. But you get the idea. So when you're working on your practice tomorrow, make sure that you're aware what you're looking for, because if you don't know that you're going to be graphing a u, you might get 2 points and then connect them using a straight line and your graph would be totally incorrect. So whenever you see something with an x squared in it, remember that you're looking for a u or an n, and until you start seeing that shape in your coordinates, you got to keep going. When you have an absolute value, you're looking for a v, or it could be an upside down v like a tent. So remember, when you get absolute value, you're looking for that kind of that point where it changes direction. And then lines, you already know how to graph lines, so we don't really have to talk about that. All right, thanks for watching.